For 5 years, Richard Thompson told his wealthy family he was too busy to bring his wife to family gatherings. They assumed he'd married someone appropriate, someone from their world, someone white. But the truth, Richard's wife was Dr. Maya Thompson, a brilliant black surgeon, and Richard was ashamed to tell his racist family about her. Tonight was his father's 70th birthday party. Richard went alone, as always. But what he didn't know was that Maya had finally had enough. She was about to walk into that mansion and change everything. What happened in the next 20 minutes exposed Richard's cowardice, his family's racism, and taught everyone a lesson about love, courage, and respect. This is a story about standing up for what's right, even when it costs you everything. Before we dive into this powerful story, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss more stories about justice, courage, and people getting exactly what they deserve. Now let's see what happened when Maya decided to stop hiding. Maya Thompson was 34 years old. She grew up in Atlanta, the daughter of a postal worker and a teacher. Her parents worked multiple jobs to send her to medical school. Maya graduated top of her class from Johns Hopkins and became a cardiovascular surgeon, one of the youngest and most respected in her field. Maya was brilliant, kind, and beautiful. She had dedicated her life to saving others. At the hospital where she worked, everyone respected her. Patients loved her. Colleagues admired her skill and compassion. 5 years ago, she met Richard Thompson at a medical conference. Richard was a pharmaceutical sales representative. He was charming, attentive, and seemed different from other men she'd dated. He said he loved her confidence and intelligence. They married after a year of dating, but shortly after the wedding, something changed. Richard started making excuses about why Maya couldn't meet his family. "They're very traditional," he'd say. "Let me prepare them first." Months turned into years. Maya began to understand the truth. Richard was ashamed of her race. Richard Thompson was 36 years old. He came from old money. His family owned a chain of luxury hotels across the country. His father, William Thompson, was a powerful businessman with old-fashioned views about race, class, and keeping the bloodline pure. Richard grew up in that world of privilege and prejudice. Deep down, he knew his family's views were wrong. But Richard was a coward. He loved Maya, but he loved his inheritance and family approval more, so he hid her. For 5 years, Richard attended every family gathering alone. When his relatives asked about his wife, he'd say she was working or traveling. He never showed photos, never talked about her career. He kept Maya as his secret. Tonight was different. It was William Thompson's 70th birthday party at the family mansion. Richard, as always, planned to go alone. That morning, Maya found an invitation on Richard's desk. Thompson Family Celebration Black Tie Event. She also found 5 years of similar invitations, hidden in a drawer, all the evidence of Richard's betrayal. Maya had reached her breaking point. She loved Richard, but she loved herself more. She was tired of being hidden, tired of being treated like a shameful secret, tired of a husband who claimed to love her but wouldn't stand up for her. Maya decided to do something she'd never done before. She was going to that party, uninvited, unannounced, and she was going to make Richard face the truth. The Thompson mansion was spectacular. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, a grand staircase worthy of a movie set. Guests arrived in expensive cars, wearing designer clothes and fake smiles. Richard arrived at 7 p.m., alone as always. His mother, Patricia Thompson, greeted him at the door. She was a thin woman in her mid-60s, dripping with diamonds and disapproval. "Richard, darling," she said, kissing the air near his cheek. "Still no wife. When are we going to meet this mysterious woman you married?" Richard's smile was tight. "She's very busy, Mother. You know how demanding medical careers can be." "A doctor." His cousin, James, walked over with a drink. "What kind of doctor?" "Surgeon," Richard said quietly. "Impressive," James said. "What's her background? Did she go to Harvard, Yale?" "Johns Hopkins," Richard replied. "Excellent school," Patricia said. "What's her family like?" "Do we know them?" Richard's discomfort was visible. "No, you wouldn't know them. They're from Atlanta, regular working people." Patricia's expression soured slightly. "I see." The party continued. About 50 guests filled the mansion, family members, business associates, old money families who'd known the Thompsons for generations. Everyone was white. Everyone was wealthy. Everyone belonged to the same exclusive world. Richard mingled, drank champagne, and tried to relax. He'd done this dozens of times. One more night of pretending wouldn't hurt. He had no idea Maya was already outside, parked down the street, gathering her courage. At 8 p.m., Maya walked up to the mansion's front door. She wore a stunning red dress that highlighted her beauty and confidence. Her natural hair was styled perfectly. She looked like royalty. The doorman looked confused. "May I help you, miss? I'm Dr. Maya Thompson," she said clearly. "I'm Richard Thompson's wife." The doorman's eyes widened. He'd worked for this family for 15 years. He'd never heard Richard mention a wife, and he certainly wasn't expecting a black woman. I'll need to check," he started. "No need," Maya said firmly but politely. "I'm family. Let me through." She walked past him into the foyer. The conversation in the main room didn't stop immediately. A few people near the entrance turned to look, then a few more. Then the whispers started. Richard was standing near the bar when he heard the change in the room's energy. He turned and saw Maya standing in the doorway. His face went completely white. The champagne glass nearly slipped from his hand. Patricia noticed Richard's reaction and followed his gaze. When she saw Maya, her expression turned to stone. "Richard," Patricia said slowly, her voice carrying across the suddenly quieter room. "Who is this?" Maya walked forward, her head high, her steps confident. She stopped directly in front of Richard. "Hello, husband," she said, not angry, not bitter, just calm and strong. Richard's mouth opened and closed. No words came out. "I'm Maya Thompson," she said, turning to address Patricia and the crowd. "Richard's wife, the one he's been hiding for 5 years." The room was completely silent now. 50 pairs of eyes stared. 50 people realized what had been happening. "You're his wife," Patricia said, her voice dripping with disdain as her eyes traveled up and down Maya's body. The emphasis on "your" made her meaning crystal clear. "Yes," Maya said. "We've been married for 5 years, but Richard never invited me to any family events. I finally figured out why." "Richard," William Thompson, the patriarch, stepped forward. He was a tall, imposing man with steel-gray hair. "What is the meaning of this?" Richard finally found his voice. "Father, I can explain." "Explain what?" William's face was turning red. "That you married her without consulting the family." "Her name is Maya," she said calmly. "Dr. Maya Thompson, and yes, he married me. He said he loved me. He said race didn't matter, but apparently it mattered enough to hide me like a dirty secret for 5 years." Guests were now whispering loudly. Some looked shocked. Others looked angry. A few looked uncomfortable, as if they knew this was wrong but didn't want to get involved. Richard's brother Andrew laughed harshly. "This is priceless. Richard married a—" "Careful," Maya interrupted, her voice now sharp as a blade. "Think very carefully about what you're about to say, because I'm a surgeon. I save lives every day. I've published research in medical journals. I've spoken at international conferences. And I will not stand here and be insulted by people who have never worked a real day in their lives." Patricia stepped closer to Richard. "How could you do this? How could you bring this situation into our family?" "This situation?" Maya repeated. "I'm your son's wife. I'm a human being, and the only situation here is that Richard was too much of a coward to tell you the truth." Richard finally spoke up. "Maya, please. Not here, not like this." Maya turned to face him, and for the first time, pain showed in her eyes. "Not here, not like this. Richard, where was I supposed to do this? You never invited me here. For 5 years, I've been your secret. I've missed holidays. I've missed birthdays. I've eaten Thanksgiving dinner alone while you were here with your family. I've made excuses to my parents about why your family doesn't want to meet them." Her voice cracked slightly. "I loved you. I believed you when you said you were building up the courage to tell them. But you were never going to tell them, were you?" Richard couldn't meet her eyes. "You were going to keep me hidden forever," Maya continued. "Because you're ashamed of me. Not because of who I am. I'm accomplished, successful kind. You're ashamed because of what I am, because I'm black, and you knew your racist family would reject me." William Thompson stepped forward, his face hard. "Young lady, I don't know what you think you're doing, but this is a private family event." "I'm family," Maya said firmly. "Legally, I'm your daughter-in-law, whether you like it or not." "Not for long," Patricia hissed. "Richard, you'll divorce this woman immediately. We'll have the marriage annulled. You'll do nothing," a voice interrupted. Everyone turned. Richard's grandmother, Eleanor Thompson, was 92 years old. She walked with a cane but had a spine of steel. She'd been sitting quietly in the corner, observing everything. Eleanor walked slowly toward Maya. The room held its breath. She stopped in front of Maya and looked her up and down. Then she smiled. "What is your full name, child?" Eleanor asked. "Dr. Maya Thompson," Maya replied. "Born Maya Williams, cardiovascular surgeon at St. Mary's Hospital." "Cardiovascular surgeon," Eleanor repeated. "My husband died of heart disease 30 years ago. If we'd had surgeons like you back then, he might still be here." She paused. And you've been married to my grandson for 5 years? Yes, ma'am. Eleanor turned to face the room. Let me tell you all something. I've watched this family become more closed-minded and hateful with each generation. I've watched us turn into the kind of people who judge others by their skin color rather than their character. She pointed her cane at William. Your grandfather would be ashamed. The man who built this family from nothing would be disgusted to see what you've become. Mother, please, William started. Be quiet, Eleanor snapped. I'm 92 years old. I'll say what I want. She turned back to Maya. This young woman is a doctor. She saves lives. She's educated, articulate, and clearly has more courage than my grandson who's been hiding her like a coward. Richard's face burned with shame. Richard, Eleanor said, her voice now cold. You have a choice to make right now. You can stand with your wife and show everyone here that love matters more than their prejudice, or you can let them bully you into staying in this toxic family. What's it going to be? Every eye in the room focused on Richard. This was his moment, his chance to finally do the right thing. Richard looked at Maya. Her eyes were filled with hope and hurt. Then he looked at his father, whose face was a mask of anger and disapproval. The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity. Finally, Richard spoke. Father, Mother, I should have told you years ago. I should have brought Maya to meet you from the beginning. I was wrong to hide her. I was weak. I was a coward. He walked over and stood next to Maya. This is my wife, Dr. Maya Thompson. She's brilliant, compassionate, and the best thing that ever happened to me. And I'm ashamed that I let your racism, yes, racism, keep me from celebrating her publicly. He took Maya's hand. If you can't accept her, then you can't accept me. I choose my wife. Patricia gasped. William's jaw clenched, but Eleanor smiled. About time you found your spine, boy, Eleanor said. William's voice was ice cold. If you walk out of here with her, you're out of the family. You're cut off from the business. You're out of the will, everything we built. Everything you built on prejudice and hate, Richard interrupted. Keep it. I have a job. Maya and I have our own lives. We don't need your money or your approval. You'll regret this, Patricia said. No, Richard replied. I regret the last 5 years. I regret every time I came to these events without her. I regret every lie I told to keep your hatred comfortable, but I won't regret standing with my wife. Maya squeezed his hand. For the first time in years, she felt truly married. Eleanor walked over to them. From her purse, she pulled out a checkbook and wrote something. She tore off the check and handed it to Maya. This is a donation to St. Mary's Hospital, Eleanor said. $1 million for their cardiac research program, in honor of Dr. Maya Thompson, who has more class and dignity than most of this family combined. Maya's eyes widened. Mrs. Thompson, I can't. It's not for you, child. It's for your hospital. Do good work with it, Eleanor smiled. And call me Grandma Eleanor. Someone in this family should. William exploded. Mother, you can't be serious. I'm 92 years old and I have my own money, Eleanor said calmly. I'll do what I want, and right now I want to support the only family member with any decency. She looked at Richard and Maya. You two go, have a good life. Don't waste another moment with these people. Richard and Maya turned to leave. As they walked toward the door, some guests whispered, others stared, a few looked ashamed. But as they reached the foyer, Richard's cousin James called out. Richard, wait. They turned. James walked forward, looking uncomfortable. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry, you're right. This family has been wrong, and Maya, I'm sorry for how we treated you. His wife, standing behind him, nodded. We'd like to stay in touch, if that's okay. Maya smiled. That would be nice. 2 other cousins stepped forward with similar sentiments. Not everyone in the room was beyond saving. Richard and Maya walked out of the mansion together, hand in hand, into the cool night air. For the first time in 5 years, Richard felt free. And Maya felt loved, truly loved, by a husband who finally had the courage to stand with her. The next morning, Richard received an official letter from his father's lawyer. He was removed from the family business and written out of the will, just as William had promised. Richard read it, then filed it away without regret. He had a good job with a medical supply company. He and Maya owned their home. They would be fine financially, and more importantly, they would be fine morally. Maya's donation from Eleanor made national news in the medical community. Elderly philanthropist supports diverse medical leadership, read one headline. Sent. Mary's Hospital announced they would use the funds to create a scholarship program for minority medical students. Eleanor Thompson passed away peacefully 6 months later. In her will, she left her entire personal fortune, separate from the family business, to charity, with one exception. A trust fund for Richard Thompson and his wife Maya, who showed me that courage and love still exist in this world. The amount was enough to ensure Richard and Maya would never worry about money again. The story of what happened at William Thompson's party spread through their social circle. Some supported the family. Others were quietly disgusted. 3 of Richard's cousins, including James, cut ties with William and Patricia over the incident. They maintained relationships with Richard and Maya instead. William Thompson's business began to suffer. 2 major hotel contracts were lost after potential clients learned about his racist views. His reputation in business circles, where diversity was increasingly valued, took a serious hit. Patricia became isolated in her social circle. Women she'd known for decades slowly stopped inviting her to events. Even in their wealthy, predominantly white world, there were limits to acceptable behavior. Andrew, Richard's brother, doubled down on the family's views and took over more of the business. But the Thompson empire never recovered its former prestige. Richard and Maya went to couples therapy to heal from the years of hiding and hurt. It wasn't easy. Maya had to learn to trust Richard again. Richard had to face his own complicity in racism and cowardice. But they worked through it. Richard became an advocate for interracial families, speaking publicly about his mistakes and what he learned. He volunteered with organizations that fought against racism. Maya continued her groundbreaking work as a surgeon. She became even more successful, eventually becoming head of cardiac surgery at St. Mary's. She used her platform to mentor young Black doctors and advocate for diversity in medicine. They had 2 children, a daughter and a son, who grew up knowing both sides of their heritage. Richard made sure his children understood the importance of standing up for what's right, even when it's hard. Richard's relationship with his parents never recovered. William and Patricia never met their grandchildren. That was their choice and their loss. But Eleanor's courage that night became a family legend. Richard's children grew up hearing stories about their great-grandmother who stood up for love over prejudice. This story spread beyond just the Thompson family. It became a lesson about courage, love, and standing up for what's right. Churches used it in sermons about loving your neighbor. Schools discussed it when teaching about standing up to prejudice. Interracial couples shared it as a reminder that they're not alone in facing family rejection. Maya gave an interview to a medical journal about her experience. "For 5 years, I let myself be hidden," she said. "I told myself I was being patient, understanding. But really, I was enabling his cowardice and accepting their racism as if it were normal. The moment I walked into that mansion, I reclaimed my dignity. I stopped allowing other people's prejudice to define my worth." Richard also spoke publicly about his experience. "I was a coward," he admitted in a TEDx talk. "I thought I could have both, my family's approval and my wife's love. But that's not how it works. When you truly love someone, you stand with them, publicly, proudly, without shame. I wasted 5 years learning that lesson. Don't make my mistake." The story resonated because it touched on universal themes. The courage to love across boundaries, the cost of prejudice, the price of cowardice, and the power of finally doing the right thing. Years later, Maya and Richard were asked what advice they'd give to other interracial couples facing family rejection. Richard said, "Don't wait. Don't hide. If your family can't accept the person you love, that's their failing, not yours. Stand with your partner from day one. They deserve that. You deserve that." Maya said, "Know your worth. I'm a surgeon who saves lives. I'm educated, accomplished, and kind. But for years, I let Richard's shame make me feel like I was the problem. I wasn't. The problem was racism and cowardice. Don't let anyone, not even someone you love, make you feel less than you are." The final wisdom this story teaches us several important lessons. First, love requires courage. Real love means standing with your partner even when it costs you something. Richard eventually found that courage, but only after years of hurting Maya. True love stands up immediately. Second, hiding someone you love is a form of betrayal. When you keep your partner secret, you're saying they're not worthy of being seen. That wounds deeper than any insult. Third, prejudice has real consequences. William and Patricia lost their son, their grandchildren, and eventually their reputation. Hate costs the hater most of all. Fourth, it's never too late to do the right thing. Richard was wrong for 5 years. But when he finally stood up, he saved his marriage and reclaimed his integrity. Fifth, one person's courage can change everything. Eleanor Thompson was 92 years old, but her support changed the course of her family's future. You're never too old or too young to stand against injustice. If this story moved you, inspired you, or taught you something valuable, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel right now. We bring you real stories about courage, justice, and love overcoming hate. Drop a comment telling us, have you ever had to stand up for someone you love against family pressure? How did you handle it? Hit that notification bell so you never miss these powerful stories. Thanks for watching, and remember, true love means standing together always, not hiding in the shadows. See you in the next story.